Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We are once again in the car, which means we have seen yet another film. Surprise, surprise, movie theaters continue to release films every week. And unfortunately for us, we are there every week.
This year.
This year's been rough.
Yeah.
But let's hope that tonight's film has maybe not followed the path of every other film this year. Tonight's film was Five Nights at Freddy's. The Blumhouse. It's Blumhouse, right? That's behind it.
I have
Blumhouse
no
and
idea.
Universal are behind it. But yes, Five Nights at Freddy's, the latest scary movie, the biggest release of the weekend that everybody's been talking about all week on Twitter, at least, or X. Anyway, I'm not the biggest fan of the series. I've played the game maybe twice. DJ, on the other hand, is the biggest fan in the world. In fact, I'm surprised that he doesn't have his own YouTube channel just talking about random theories. Anyway, DJ, does this film meet your expectations, and how much so on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give it a 7.
Okay, why?
Okay, so it has a little bit of B-movie vibes, like with some of the acting and some of the stiff writing, but despite the stiffness of it, for me, I give it a higher score because the cinematography is actually really good for a film like of this caliber. Usually these like low scary films will have a lot of cheesy photography and then we'll have some really good shots. This is actually pretty well done overall. The pacing is really good in the film. It does a really good job of ramping things up. Then it does a nice twist in the middle of redirectioning. I don't mean that in like plot wise. I mean like the way that the style and the framing of the film changes directions, and it's really fresh way to like keep it from getting too stale, because it starts to stave and then it pulls it back, which is really fun. And I'll get more into that in spoilers what I mean, but it does a really good job of kind of pulling you back into the film, and it's really faithful to the source material, which is kind of a silly thing to say, I think, for a game like this, but for anybody that has followed Matt, Pat, and Scott's back and forth for the last decade, I think Matt, for game theory, has been about as much as writing the lore of this game as Scott has. And that was it was kind of cool to see some of this stuff get like put face forward. So overall, I had a good time watching it, and as a fan of the series and the theories and the lore that have come up behind it, I've been following Matt Pat as well as several other theorists on this for, well, the decade since it originated. So it was really cool to see it culminate in a film. So, like, two fandoms hitting together. I like it. What about you?
I also give it a 7.
Okay.
Just overall, it's a really well shot film. There's a lot of really awesome. It looks really good.
Yes.
Like, and it's not just like a cinematography.
And the animatronics look believable.
They're real.
It was just incredible.
No, the animatronics are actually real.
Oh,
they made them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it really proves the fact that practical effects are just, they really help films a lot.
The only one that looked off was the cupcake, because it was CGI'd a lot for its action moments. Other than that, it's a fantastic.
Yeah, all the characters look how I remember them. Like, it's been a decade since I played it. Like, my cousins were into it, so I played it a couple times. But everything looked right. Everything sounded right. It has a really nice story going out throughout the entire thing. It's not all just jump scares, which I love. It actually had some good points where there was relief and then tension and then relief and then tension. They played that really well. So yes, overall it's a very enjoyable film. I give it a 7. I don't really have any other notes. I mean, it's a well-made film. It's a well-put-together film. And judging by the fact that literally every screening of this film tonight at our theater was packed, it should do pretty well, I think.
Yeah. And people really enjoyed it too. And there are fans of the lore too there. So we can go into spoilers, because I got some stuff.
All right. Let's do that. Let's just roll into spoilers, because we might as well.
Spoilers.
spoilers.
John?
I cannot believe that not only did they cast the actor behind Stu Macher, they included Stu Macher in the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. And he appears halfway through the film, and it's not Five Nights at Freddy's. It's Five Nights at Ghost Faces.
Oh my gosh.
The perfect Scream sequel we've all been waiting for.
That was actually something that was kind of cool in this film. It wasn't just a lore hub for the Freddy series. There was some calls to some other horror slashers and series in here as well, which was kind of fun. And they were tributes rather than like straight just like rips. They were actual just tributes to some things. So that was really cool.
Yeah, no, they did a really, really cool job.
They did a tribute to. I did see a tribute to Halloween in there, and you noticed the one from Scream.
Yes.
I saw one from the Jason films. They did a good call to that on the first person targeting thing where they was doing the Foxy's doing the look like that was straight out of the Jason films. And then the other one I really thought was actually kind of sneaky but slippery. They did an Alien reference in there too. So
they did, yeah.
So there was some fun little like calls to some other films, but for the most part, it's just Freddy lore dump. The film.
It really is. I mean, it explains a lot of stuff that goes on. I appreciated that just because I'm not familiar with all the lore. I remember some of the lore because my cousins, like I said, were really into that stuff. But decade ago, it's developed so much since then. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's been a game released as recently as a couple of years ago or last year. I think there's so many games in the series now, but I played the first one all the way through, got some of the back lore, and that was what got me interested. I don't remember how I got into it, but I got caught up into Matt Pat's theory videos, and I had been following them for I think the last one I watched actually was about a year and a half ago, before I just got too busy to keep up with it. But so for 9 years, eight years or something like that, I was on top of what was going on in the lore dumps, and it was like really interesting watching Matt Pat and Scott, the creator, going back and forth. And Matt Pat would have a theory, and Scott be like, "Oh, you're close," or "Yeah, that's dead on," or he'd give a list of rights and wrongs, and then go back to him. And I swear, Scott's sitting here making notes like, "That's such a really good idea. I'm gonna put that in the next one."
I just want to say that he's wrong this time.
Matt Pat shows up as an actor in the movie, and the entire theater goes, "What?" So I'm like, "Oh, good. I'm not the only." I was like, "Okay, I'm like the only lore nerd here." Nope. The entire freaking theater is full of theory nerds. So that felt pretty good.
Oh yeah, everybody that was in the theater, it was a good energy just in the group.
There was so much energy.
There was like 2 people that were not great, but they were excited about the film. And so it literally would be a thing though where like something would happen on the screen and it wasn't necessarily thrilling or anything, and then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, blah 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 blah." I'm like I'm seriously sitting there just like,
okay, so they were doing out loud what I was doing in my head the whole time. So like the whole movie, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's it. Oh, no, and really, and oh crap, and yeah, it is." That was me in my head. They were just saying it out loud, so I could tell that they had followed along with what was going on. The lore of the games is like incredibly deep, and it's like a surface level game with tons of hidden content that has like this massive world building thing that has constantly expanded over the years. But the big thing is, the big villain is William Afton. He's the one who created him and his partner created the animatronics, and they're part of the reason why they exist. And his partner just wanted to do it for fun, but William, I think it was William, he decided that he was going to use it to like create basically soul puppets. So he found a way to extract souls from people and put them into the machines to pilot them. That's like a vague part of it, but that's like the deep lore of the games. They touch on that quite a bit on this, where William Afton is like, he was the reason they were killed, and their souls are possessed, and he's controlling them, and then they like let him die and kill him, which happens in the that happens in a flashback in one of the games. It shows a flashback of him getting crushed to death by the suit that he's in and dies in it. So that plays out in this film. So it takes elements from multiple games throughout the series and then puts it together in like an easy to consume package. And it does a really good job of it. Doesn't go super heavy into the lore, but does more than graze the surface.
It goes heavy enough that it hits all of the highlights and all the interesting points. And it's clear that there's a lot of aspects that are in the film that are super high tension, especially if you have played the game before. Because there were scenes where a character would do something, and not knowing the game, I'm like, oh, that seems pretty logical, actually, that they would do that. And then people in the theater would be like, it's like the worst place you can go. Why would you do that? So it's very clear that this was not only a project made out of love, and the creator behind the series, the creator behind the game actually is like heavily influenced the movie, if I'm correct, right? Like he was actually involved in it.
He was involved, but I don't know how much. I'd have to research it to find out exactly how involved he was. But I know that this film was in production for the last like 6 years, I think, because he actually announced that there was going to be a film based off of it a long time ago, and it just took a while to get here. But well, it's very faithful to the source material, and not just to the idea and the theory of it, but it straight up recreates whole scenes and parts of the series like verbatim. Like, does a really good job. Obviously, the game portion is just you trying to survive in the chair, so it doesn't really go very in detail. The movie takes some embellishments from that side, which is fine. It's got to give these characters something to make a film work. But when it comes to like all the background stuff, they recreate a lot of scenes throughout. They recreate kids in the forest. They recreate the bunny scene. It's all these really cool scenes that they recreate from the games, and it looks really cool. And the animatronics just look so realistic. And yes, they're practical. I know, but it's even then like it's incredible how lifelike those things act. Like they managed to recreate the things from the games. Like the technology exists now; they can actually get those to look like they would. That was incredible. And the only parts that were kind of rough is when the cop, the daughter of the bad guy, and the main character are together. Was just the two of them talking. It's kind of stale. It's like two cardboard cutouts talking to each other. Other than that, when they're with the little girl, they're better. Every time the little girl is around, the acting like improves. It's just when those two are alone, for some reason, they don't know how to act anymore.
Well, it may have been that they threw it in later or something.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was
some of it was
it
a
felt
little
outside
odd.
of the movie.
Yeah.
Just some odd choicing. Oh, and then the thing I was going to mention about the pacing. What I meant by that is when you're watching the film, it's hinting and it shows like little scenes of the animatronics and hints that they're moving. And then it ramps up to this point where the animatronics, where it reveals the secret and they learn everything about them. You learn that they are the ghost children, that they're possessed and they're kids and they're hanging out and playing with them. And you're like, oh, this is like a different kind of movie. But then it turns really hard back to horror.
Yeah.
Because this is right after they like brutally murder several characters that come into the place. They brutally murder 4 people. And then it's like all happy-go-lucky and it culminates to this thing. And there's that tension in the background where you're like, did they just murder a bunch of people? And they're like, well, maybe they're not that bad after all. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, yeah, they are. And you're like, okay, maybe it is. And then, so there's that moment of like clarity where everything becomes clear. And then you realize everything you thought you knew was wrong.
Yep.
And that was a really fun twist that I'm not used to in movies like this, where they have like this upbeat middle section where everything's happy and it's like, it's not real.
Yeah.
That was wild and fun and just a very neat way to tie it back together.
Yeah. No, it's a well put together film. The story is compelling. The characters are overall pretty compelling. There are times when I just forgot his name. PETA. What's the actor's name? Mike. Who plays Mike?
I don't remember.
He's like the second most famous person on the... I forgot his name, but the main character, there are times when he is wooden and stiff, but for the most part, he actually plays the character really well and believable.
Well, that's actually the thing. It was hard to tell if he was supposed to be wooden and stiff on purpose or not, because he felt jilted and broken. Like, he's a broken character, and he plays that really well, almost too well. That was actually part of the problem. Like, I was like, is he actually dead inside? Because he was acting so dead inside, I thought he might actually be dead inside.
He never recovered from Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh gosh, right. But yeah, that was yeah. I was like, I'm not sure if this is really bad acting or really good acting. That was hard.
That's fair.
What?
Like, it fits really well. Like I said, it's like
I think
it
that's
fits
why.
really well sometimes, and then sometimes it's like, that's just stiff.
I think that's why it's really rough when it's just the two of them together, because she's also like that, but she's not supposed to be dead inside. I don't think. It's like
cop. Yes,
yeah,
the cop's supposed to be dead.
That's
inside.
true. She is actually dead inside too.
Like,
well, I think that's it. They're both very broken characters. So when they talk to each other, they're like the two sappy characters in a movie. I hate life. Everything sucks. Yeah, I know. It's like just terrible. Like, oh yeah, we should just kill ourselves. Yeah, you know, that's probably a good idea. That's how they are. But when they're around the girl and other characters, they're a little more like the cop's like really joyous and like acts really well around the girl. It's just the two of them. So their negativity feeds off each other. It was wild to me.
Yep. Probably a highlight for me, though, is the performance from Matthew Lillard. I always remember him as Stumacher because I'm obsessed with Scream.
Yeah.
But Matthew Lillard, every time that his character's on it, it's only like 3 scenes that you see him. He plays it so well, and it's such a fun character that when his scene ends, I'm like, oh, I wish there was more from him.
He was really good.
He was really good. And then not only that, like when they reveal that he's the killer, like he does the Scream, the Stumacher's like thing where he cleans the knife. And the moment he did that, I was like, this is either a callback or I know who's in that suit. And then it reveals it and I'm like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
That was a cool little Scream reference.
It's just fun.
That was a fun little reference. I liked the references to that and the other horror films they did. They just kind of snuck in there, but that one was golden just because of the character that does it.
Yeah, because it's literally him.
Yes.
But yeah, this film's just really fun. It's so enjoyable. If you like the games, you'll really love it, I think.
No, yeah. If you're a big lore fan from Five Nights at Freddy's, this is just. It's literally just like a love letter to the people who like are deep into the lore.
Yeah.
Down to having Matt Pat literally freaking act in the film.
Exactly. No, and then also like, even if you just barely know Five Nights at Freddy's like me, it's fun. It's interesting. The story works really well, and the jump scares are really good. And if you don't know Five Nights at Freddy's but you like jump scares, this is a good film for it too.
That was actually really good that we both kind of give it a 7 because I'm deep into the lore and you're like surface level and we both still really enjoyed it. I like to hear that kind of stuff because if we're both too in tune with each other, it's hard to get other audiences inbound.
He is stealing that. Well, that's a channel first. We have witnessed a crime.
What did he just steal?
He stole the Era's backboard that the movie theater has. Literally the thing that you take pictures in front of.
What did they just throw it in the trash? Oh, they're upset. I had a bad day. Okay.
Bad day. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like our reviews, be sure to drop likes. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. What did you think about Five Nights at Freddy's or the game or the movie or both? Otherwise, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You get more content like this, and on top of that, you get all of our extra content talking about movies, classic, future, podcasts, all of that stuff. Ring the bell for notifications, and check us out on Facebook. at Entertainment Rebooted for more articles and things like that. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.